What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review a 2010 mixtape by Scarface. Basically, this product is called Dopeman Music, and it came out in the spring of 2010. So the thing about this particular product is just the fact that this is after Scarface's retirement from 2008. This is a pretty excellent pitch to kind of get this here just because the concept of a number of things. For one thing, just the fact that Scarface was putting out a music is pretty awesome just because he is mostly like album bound, like folks like Jay-Z or Eminem or some of those type folks or Dr. Dre. The disc did not have a very high likelihood of putting out like a mixtape or something like that. But on top of that, yeah, this project at one point was free, but pretty persnickety to get a hold of in nowadays times. I was looking around for it to see if I could get it for like a download, and the pitch behind it was just kind of the factoid behind saying this is not available. The only place I was able to find it in any sort of fashion whatsoever, apart from YouTube, was just on Amazon, which basically was just the concept you'd have to purchase it. So it's just kind of the pitch behind it. So it's a good this is a dope. This is definitely another classic from Scarface. Like the concept behind this here is yet another one. The production fares a little bit more beleaguered. It's not in terms of like being swamped or just poor or something like that. But this has a lot more uptown, kind of more gruff and just kind of more grizzled type flavor, differential from some of the vibes that Scarface kind of had. This is not a horrorcore type project like The Diary or like Untouchable, some of those ghastly kind of autumn type music. A lot of this just feels like pretty, just kind of more city hop. Just reminds me of like there's like a record, I forget what it was called, but it was off of, I might put in the connotation, it was off of like Scarface's My Homies album from 1998 had Devin the Dude on there. This was pretty summer flavor, but it's just kind of the concept is something that you would see like Bun B or some of those type folks on that kind of do more uptown kind of music. I mean, obviously, you have downtown city hop type music, but a lot of this just kind of feels more uptown type flavor just within that pitch. Do you like the concept? Kind of forgot the other point I was trying to say here with like the concept about Scarface as far as that pitch can happen, but I look after it. Yeah, I would just have to say it's another classic here. So there was at least a single, and yeah, this project is pretty hard to get a hold of just within the pitch. So I would definitely scoop it up if you're able to find it because it is basically a pretty highlighted one. But just understand the concept that Scarface does not really as full back. I mean, he steps out on this particular project, but it's just kind of the concept is just kind of off to the wayside, not as much on frontal kind of full display. I'd say the club bops on here out of like 13 songs is probably only like 3 or 4 in terms of those pitches, and they're not like if you're expecting like a song like Guess Who's Back or some of those type pitches, it just has a different tone whatsoever. So this is just a lot more just gruffer type project as far as that pitch kind of goes. It's just a different taste. You can tell by the album cover, Scarface is kind of more in Jersey type music, more so than the Made type flavor that he was on the album Made, or like the more kind of this classic kind of Jay-Z type tone, this more Southern heavyweight type tone of like The Fix or something like that. But it is a good pitch. I mean, it just doesn't have the hauntingness. So it's an interesting pitch to kind of get it here. But it basically nails it, which I wasn't expecting just because I knew about this product, but I never got around to listening to it. So it's an excellent type pitch to kind of get towards it just to see what's up with it because it's kind of a secret one here within a relative sense. But yeah, so there was at least one single, which is the title track Dope Man Music. That's like an uptown kind of city hop kind of glaze. I would definitely feel like about this one. It's like a basic kind of work shift aftermath. I'd have to say it's a good concept of just got done with standard tasks as far as those pitches kind of happen. Then just smoke a good one, get some snackage, get some errands done as far as those pitches kind of happen. This really feels like a summer evening kind of dredge as far as those pitches will kind of happen with it. Just standard uptown type funk as far as the standard uptown type funk as far as those pitches kind of happen along with it. There are some other ones on here that kind of have that relative type flavor. Like I definitely say Wanted is kind of within that pitch, and I'd say the N word is another one that kind of has that relative type appeal, like some uptown type flavor. There might be a couple other ones I'd have to say it was just a good pitch. So yeah, basically this mixtape is going to get a 10 out of 10 out. I'd say out of 13 songs in here, there's 15 songs in this particular mixtape, but looking after it, just being able to say that out of those 15, I wound up recommending. There are 15 songs in here, but minus the two skits that are less than 40 seconds, I'd have to say there's 13 songs in here, and out of those 13, I wound up at least recommending. Out of those 13, I wound up recommending 11 and a half, so it's a good pitch. Now the problem with it is, it's just the fact that there's one song off this project that is just unavailable to be able to be listened to is kind of the pitch. I looked everywhere for it, trying to find this on like mixtape websites and pitches like that. Even on YouTube, the song In the City is not available. So just kind of the pitches. It's not on Spotify, it's not on YouTube, it's not on like other websites like SoundCloud or some of those types of pitches to be able to listen to this particular product. So I don't know why the song In the City is being hidden, but it's just kind of the concept. It's just not available. The only real way to get it and be able to listen to it is to purchase the product. So obviously I didn't want to purchase. I didn't want to purchase the project without knowing if it was good. So just the concept behind it is, I just would have to say if I do wind up liking In the City. I mean, this mixtape is going to get a 10 out of 10 because every other song on here, and most fashions I enjoyed full blown. The Almost song is Hustle Game, which I do like that song rather well. It has it's just kind of the concept that that's really the only song that had like the relative kind of modest kind of appeal, but most of this is kind of in like a kind of offhanded, more roundabout kind of way. It's pretty solitary and just overall superb kind of effort to kind of get here. So the only song I don't know full blown as to whether or not it's good is just In the City. But you know, if I were to purchase that song, I just would say there's a pretty high likelihood, considering I like every song on here, that I'm probably going to like In the City as well. So I just would assume that even if it was only 12 out of 13 songs, this album would still get a 10 out of 10, or this mixtape would still get a 10 out of 10. So just what I'd say, it's either 11 and a half out of 13 or 12 and a half out of 13. Either way, it gets a 10. So I look after it. This is kind of the pitch. But yeah, so that's the concept. So basically, to talk about some of these on here, I'll go ahead and talk about Hustle Game. So this is like an entry and kind of initial night venue noise. I'd have to say about this one. Good social thumper to kind of get here, and it's a good unwind, get some drink, and kind of standard city house. This is another uptown type one that goes along with Dopeman music, Wanted, the N word, some of these type ones. Yeah, this is another one that has some good club thump on there. I'd have to say along with like Bad Man, and I'd say at least songs like To the Beat, Bad Man, and Hustle Game are some ones that have some relative club thump on here within a relative type pitch. But I just look after it, the concept. I mean, Hustle Game is a nice one, but I kind of feel like the more roundabout kind of uptown type production. I do like most of these uptown type songs on here, but I just kind of look after it. I just question where this song come up in the shuffle or some pitches like that. Just the randomness of kind of hearing this song, how many oftentimes I'd make a beeline for it. That's kind of thing. As much as me giving this project like a 10 out of 10, it just takes a little bit more of like a determined listen to kind of get towards some of these, because I feel like Scarface, you know, some of the ones that I recommend by Scarface in the past, like when you think of songs like Hand to the Dead Body or Smile with Tupac, some of those type of ones, or like, you know, songs like Someday or some of those type of pitches, or like that song, like trying to think of some other ones like Guess Who's Back, Off the Fix, some of those particular type tones, or just like, you know, standard haunting type songs like some of the singles like Girl You Know off of Made, some of those type of pitches. I'd have to say I just feel like the immediate factor off this product, this is a little bit more, I don't want to say full blown secondary, but it just doesn't have like the immediate kind of bite about it. This is a good club thumper. I'd have to say this is the closest thing to like a club thump, but it's just not overall. The draw behind this particular song is just a little bit more kind of like it's kind of, it's just more of like a slow burn type song, and there's a lot of songs on this project that are kind of more slow burn and like the altitude that where it just doesn't sink in rather immediately, just with like the production type, where it just has a lot of uptown funk, something pitch relative pitches like that. I'd probably say some of the most immediate ones. I feel like Bad Man. I feel like Bad Man. This is a pretty good quickie, but this is one of the few. This is one of the immediate type ones I would go for. So Bad Man is like a funk ridden kind of club bop. I'd have to say good quickie, basic kind of minor two-step fun to kind of get here. Pop up, smoke a couple, just some leftover crunk kind of fun to kind of get just within that tone. I'd have to say. Pretty good bop. Has a reggaeton type singer on the hook as far as those pitches kind of happen. Like this Bad Man, snappy and quality type song to kind of get, but it's just within the tone of having a little bit of club bounce, just within a standard, more typical kind of southern bounce type format. So it's just a good pitch. I do like the flavor of some of this. But yeah, I mean, Hustle Game is just a loud type one. It kind of reminds me of something that Kanye West would do if he was a more southern rapper. It just has like that more power ridden type feel about it. It's just kind of has like a more slummish type feeling within it, just within the concept. It's kind of like a hole in the wall type settings and pitches like that for like some. Yeah, I feel like Hustle Game is kind of like some looming kind of nightclub noise, something that like Kanye West would kind of do in like a more uptown and just kind of more southern fried type setting, just within the pitch behind it. I just look after that particular type tone. So a nice pounder kind of get. This reminds me of just like something, yeah, just good bop there to kind of get. So look after the N word is a pretty nice one. It's like a jazzy but slummish kind of uptown flavor. I'd have to say about this. So the N word is a pretty nice one here. It's like a jazzy but slummish kind of uptown flavor about this particular song. It's a good quickie. I'd have to say reminds me of like 2007's Made, some of that gloss off that particular album, just with the sophistication, just more kind of suited up type tone within that one, and this is good for like some workaday outings. So I feel like that particular is just kind of uptown flavor with like some of the suaveness of Made, just kind of a pitch behind it, just a gloss of just kind of being a more suit, just within a more fashion and just kind of more gruff kind of just slummish type settings. This kind of the concept. I mean, most of the theme of that about this particular product, I think the aim that Scarface was kind of aiming for with this product is just kind of more kind of city hop type tone, just something more ground level within the pitch behind it, where it's not, it doesn't have the gloss of like Emeritus, and I don't remember Emeritus as much from 2008, but it doesn't have the gloss and the overall glamour of like Made or the Fix, some of those type of ones, or even like the relative sophistication and hauntiness of like, you know, the Untouchable. But it is just a tone of just getting towards some of that, just to have some of that relative aloofness that particular made kind of had, possibly Emeritus kind of had, just within like a more kind of uptown type flavor. Was that would be the N word song. Wanted is a pretty nice one as well. It's like a good head shop and grand kind of smoke up number. I would definitely feel like has some uptown flavor. Once again, some good pitches for that. It's like a simmering kind of city hop commute. I feel like about this one. It goes with like the Dopeman music kind of single. So there's just a lot of these on here. It's kind of more hop and bop type tones that just kind of out and about, just kind of appreciate like city life pitches like that. I'd have to say it's good concept. Get like some Subway, get like some Arby's, some pitches like that, just some local type fare, pick up some swishers, just kind of smoke behind buildings, some of those type pitches, just standard fare as far as that would kind of happen. This one kind of has more of like a chip on its shoulder, but I like the pitch behind it, just within the tone behind it, just standard gab as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's just a lot more relatable as Scarface compared to some of these type ones. It's just different getting some of these vibes from Scarface because normally he has like horrorcore. I was real surprised that there wasn't any horrorcore or just overall kind of more ghastly kind of song. That there really isn't any of that. It's just kind of the pitch. It's a lot more just kind of punctual and just kind of more like gabbing and just kind of more of like this kind of talkative Scarface that has say, a pitch behind it. But To the Beat's a pretty nice one. It's like a jarring kind of nightclub noise. I'd have to say about this particular one. Goes well with Bad Man, I'd have to say. This is like a bop a little bit here and there, kind of night enjoyment to kind of get. So this is kind of the concept. The thing about this particular product is it is more focused on like the city hop, this kind of day errands pitches like that. This the slag of between probably about 2 o'clock p.m. to about 6:37, minus like a couple songs. Like I would say To the Beat, Bad Man, and possibly like Hustle Game would be some songs. But apart from like those three songs, I'd say most of this is just more day, just midday and late day kind of slag as far as those pitches kind of happen. But To the Beat is a pretty nice one. Now, some of these I'm not going to have as much of like a refresher on like the vibe. Now, some of these I'm not going to have as much like a refresher on like the vibes of like the particular production fair because I have to keep listening to the ads just because this is only available on YouTube. So I'm only able to listen to so many just with the pitch behind it. So I just don't feel like this review being like 50 minutes to get towards all of these. So I'm just going to have to kind of burn through these. But picking up the pieces is a nice one. This is like a vintage kind of 2000s mixtape flavor. I'd have to say about this one in particular. It reminds me definitely of Don Cannon, kind of Jeezy, Lil Wayne type vibes within those pitches. And this is a pretty good song for like some errands, I'd have to say. That standard fare house cleaning type music pitches like that. Just standard fare. You've heard these soulful type ones that some of these southern rappers will kind of do. That reminds definitely of like Jay-Z's The Blueprint, some of those type pitches. It's an excellent type one. Throwback one to kind of get here just because Scarface wasn't doing mixtapes like that back in the mid 2000s. So it's a good pitch, just throwback to that particular type vibe. Lyrical Assault's another nice one. This feels like a buzz single. I'd have to say I don't know if there were any other singles off this product apart from the title track, but I would have to say it's like a good mixtape hustle noise kind of get here. The song to get to it and kind of some peppy work shift kind of aftermath, I'd say. So it's just kind of the pitch. Just reminds me of something if like a mixtape rapper were to kind of be doing this sort of thing, but it's just more Scarface within his more status of like appeal as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just an excellent concept kind of get within like I would say it doesn't necessarily have to be full blown done with workshop. Probably somewhere between like at least 3:30 some pitches like that. Just kind of the tone of like just kind of getting the last moment things kind of laced up and just getting towards like some excitement. I'd have to say it's actually more peppy than I was expecting. This really does feel like it could have been like a promotional single or something like that. This kind of works towards it. The Ghetto Report's a pretty nice one here. It's like a slummish kind of work a day after hours slag. I'd have to say about this one. Just some routine kind of drew. I'd have to say has graceful kind of What's Beef by Biggie type vibes. I'd say about this particular song. Just an overall dope one. It's a pretty good pitch just within the tone behind this, real kind of syrupy and just kind of within the tone of just being real graceful. It's another one that reminds me of like Made a little bit, just with the, like a more kind of homely and just kind of more slummish ghetto, just kind of workaday type flavor just within the pitch. It's more blue collar. If Biggie would have done more blue collar type vibes, more slag to like just standard blue collar work. If Biggie would have done more blue collar type vibes, like a workaday type format of just like the evening dredge, like 4:30, 5:30 p.m. sunset skies, this would be a good pitch for that. So that's a good concept for that there. Is Scarface kind of having like some food for thought type lyrics as far as those pitches kind of happen. Good tone for that. Get Lost is a quality one. It's like a pop rap kind of radio grab. I'd have to say this has a lot of commercial bite about it. It's like a ladies sparkle, the song kind of get here. One of the few ladies songs off this particular product, but there is at least a number for that on here. Scarface is pretty good at getting like these offhanded type ones when he usually does more horrorcore, but he always does have like great ladies songs like Fuck Faces and some of those type ones. And like Girl, you know, some of those type of pitches I'd have to say. But it's like a good mixtape gloss I'd have to say about this one. It's like a low key kind of starry eyed kind of workaday commute here just to get within that pitch. So this reminds of something that like a mixtape rapper would kind of do within the tone of just trying to get like a radio grab. That's something, you know, a song that you'd probably hear like Kurt Cobain's on, or some of those type of folks, just more starry-eyed, something like Drake would have been on like 2010, or a mixtape rapper, some of those type of folks. This classic type of feel is that there's actually a number of rappers on this particular song. And that's the thing about this project, is it is Scarface presents. So it's not just like a full-blown kind of Scarface project. He's actually trying to put on some folks on here. Like there's at least two folks out this project that show up more than a few times. So one of these folks would be B. James and Monk Kaza. Just I'd say there's just some folks on here. I don't know what happened to those folks in particular, but they are at least expressed to be on here a number of times. And there's actually even a song on here that doesn't have Scarface on it. So it's just kind of the concept. But for the most part, you're going to get Scarface on these songs here. But it is kind of a presentation where it's almost like a compilation, because there's a bunch of folks. He does have guests on here often enough. So it's just kind of the concept. But so speaking of a song like that, In My Blood is one of those type ones, like I was saying, that doesn't have Scarface on there. This is like a twinkling kind of night commerce, I'd have to say, an outing. I would definitely feel like it's like some local kind of pickup smokage, snacks, that sort of pitch, some things like that. Just get some snack cakes, get some Burger King, some of that type fare, just good pitches like that. Traverse, kind of smoke, ruminate, some of that type fare, just to be able to have. Just reminds me of like a more kind of composed but still grizzled type altitude, something that 3-6 Mafia would kind of do. It's this kind of some good night Traverse, just without the horrorcore type tone. I'd say so it's a good pitch just to get like gas station, Taco Bell run, some of those type pitches. Just pick up some standard fare, get some swish or some of that typeness just to get. And I think the last song I haven't talked about here would just be Guap. This is like an uptown kind of city hop in like late hours. I'd say it's more of like a nighttime. This would be more of like a nighttime kind of uptown song to kind of get here. It's like some fresh kind of demon time era. I'd say about this one, just some concepts that just woke up, but just appreciating like the night skies bit, just like that. It's like smoke good, basic kind of commerce and flourish. I'd have to say about this particular one. It's just an overall dope song to kind of get. There's just a little bit more grizzle just within the tone behind it, just within the pitch, just a little bit kind of dismantled just within that relative type aspect, kind of similar to Wanted, some of those type ones, but it does work within the Traverse, just getting towards it. So yeah, there's just plenty of city songs on this particular product. Just really has the atmosphere, just kind of being out and about, a little bit more social bustle about it. It's not so much like a hustler's product, but just within the tone, just having some actual dap and just standard fare, just in between like the moments of just like the standard out and about, just within the tone of just like city hop, more uptown type slag as far as that kind of goes. Just workaday commerce, doesn't so much full blown just say like Bill Payne pitches like that, just the standard commerce of just, going to work and tapping in and clocking in some of those type pitches, but it's the concept of actually having it's like standard 2 o'clock to about 6:30 p.m. type slag for most of these songs, with like some night commute in there and a few night bops. So it's a good pitch, but score gets a 10 out of 10. The social score, that's kind of tricky. I think I'll give the social score like an 8.75 out of 10, because I like the tone behind this particular product. It's just the fact there's not really any immediate smashes on here. I think for the most part, getting this particular product, it does have some decent bops on here. Like I feel like Get Lost is a good radio grab for like the ladies. I'd have to say there are some nightclub gems on here, like To the Beat, the lead single Dopeman music's pretty good within a most part sense, and Hustle Game and some of those type ones, Bad Man, some of these type ones do at least have some relative kind of pizzazz and just overall two-step type vibes about them. But for the most part, it kind of lacks like an immediate type grab to kind of say like this is a smash hit. It doesn't have like a huge hit single. Like when you think of Scarface with Tupac with Smile or something like that, or like Guess Who's Back with Jay-Z, some of those type ones, or Girl You Know with Trey Songz, some of these bigger Scarface hits. This lacks that this time. It's just kind of a more hardcore type mixtape, kind of more, and if you know type territory. Doesn't necessarily slag Scarface, but it's just kind of concept that, for casual, more folks, it's just not going to have as much glitzy kind of pizzazz of appeal, I'd have to say. So it's just kind of the pitch, but it is an excellent concept. It is an excellent mixtape here, so that's the thing. But in terms of the future, like Scarface has not put out projects. He put out Deeply Rooted in 2015, and then he dropped like a compilation or a pseudo sequel to that project in 2017. But it's been a while. It's been a while. This is kind of the pitch behind it. We'll have to get to some more of these. He did at least drop a follow-up mixtape in 2011. I forget what that one's called, but I do want to get to some more of these. But yeah, this is kind of like a low-key classic, kind of a roundabout classic just within the realm behind it. And the only reason for that is just because it didn't have like the immediate kind of this blistering kind of highlight that this probably would make this like an anchored kind of smash. But there is like a lot of this roundabout kind of long-winded kind of quality about this product that once you fuck with it, it's just kind of a more slow burn kind of hitter here.